Our story begins with Isaku's introduction to her new home and caretaker, Keiya. She is introduced to her grandfather, the boss of the Yakuza, but she sobs due to the loss of her mother and father. Keiya promises to be both of them to her, despite not being related by blood. Isaku recalls that those were the words that made her fall in love with Keiya. Returning to the present time, Isaku gets into Oto High School. While reporting back home, Keiya is overjoyed and lifts her up to celebrate, treating her like his own child. Her grandfather takes objection, as Oto is too far, but she claims that's the reason she chose it. She explains that she wishes to have a normal high school life unaffected by her family status, and she also wants to find love because having a one-sided crush on a Yakuza member is not fruitful. Isaku arrives for her first day of college and observes the students. As she fumbles around, deciding to talk to someone, she trips and is saved by a boy. She turns around, only to realize it's Keiya. She scolds him for being a grown adult cosplaying in a high school. Isaku tells him to only see her at the train station, but he insists on studying at the high school with her and offers her an overly elaborate reason why boys are not safe for her. Isaku learns that he bribed the school authorities and also got permission from her grandfather. She threatens him to stay away from her before heading back in. A flashback rolls in wherein Isaku recalls her childhood days when kids avoided her because she was from the Yakuza family. She enters the classroom and takes a seat after noticing that everyone has already formed groups. Keiya approaches her once again and begins talking to her. Two boys approach them, asking Isaku if they are together and calling her cute. Before Isaku can respond, Keiya begins to intimidate them and sends signals telling them to back off. He goes so far as to threaten them, but is interrupted by Isaku. The two end up creating a scene, and their classmates begin calling them weirdos, which worries Aiku as she doesn't want her first impression to be ruined. Just then, the teacher walks into the class, asking who would like to be the class representative. Isaku contemplates whether it's a good idea or not, but Keiya sees her overthinking and voluntarily gives their names. They also receive their first assignment, which is to assign roles for the upcoming sports day. Keiya and Isaku receive a laid-back attitude from the students. While Isaku stares in confusion, Keiya quickly gathers everyone's attention and calls the students by name to make them feel better. He proposes that it'll be a good idea to participate, as the students will get to make friends. He also expresses that he would like to be friends with Satonaka. The students are taken aback as he claims to have memorized everyone's name. Keiya quickly begins delegating work by taking the names of every single student. The students take a liking to Keiya. Later that evening, Keiya walks into Isaku's room to find her curled up in bed. Upon inquiry, he finds out that she feels hurt about her communication skills. She expresses her envy of his way with words and also tells him that she doesn't like being called a weirdo and blames it on him. He assures her that things will get better. He then hugs her in bed, calling her cute, but she resists. The following day, Isaku approaches two of the Yakuza members, requesting that they play volleyball with her for practice. She expresses that she wants to win. One of the members throws the ball, but Isaku misses it, and it instead falls on her shoulder. This upsets Keiya, and he beats him up. Despite this, Isaku refuses to train with Keiya, claiming he will go too soft on her. The next day after volleyball practice, all her teammates praise her skills and promise to practice together during lunch breaks. This motivates Isaku to train harder and get better at the sport, and she thinks that it will win her some of Keiya's respect as well. Isaku walks in on Keiya smoking a cigarette inside the school and scolds him. He mentions that he has bribed his way in anyway, and he's a 26-year-old Yakuza dude. She notices he isn't in a good mood, but he deflects the question and tells her to focus on the game instead. Once the match continues, Isaku realizes that her finger is hurting and that she won't be able to use her hands anymore. Just then, she sees the ball heading towards her and uses her foot to return it and score a point, all with the intention of not disappointing Keiya. Post-match, Keiya doesn't let her celebrate. Instead, he carries her and takes her straight to the infirmary and applies a bandage. She asks him his opinions on the game but receives a pale response. He explains that she's been very energetic lately and fears she won't need him around anymore. He also claims that the very thought of it makes him feel lonely. She reassures him that she cannot break away from him despite wanting to, and that he is the center of her world now. We see Isaku and Keiya in their classrooms. Tamaru, a young boy, introduces himself to Isaku when Keiya uses the restroom during the break. Following this, he requests her Instagram handle and receives access to follow her. Keiya overhears their talk while this is going on. Tamaru's attempt to be friendly with Isaku has infuriated Keiya. When he tells Isaku to stay away from Tamaru, she asks him to back off. We learn later that day that Isaku has a secret crush on Keiya. However, she wants to get over him, and so she's attempting to fall for anyone but him. She's even caught sending Tamaru Instagram direct messages. Keiya soon discovers her texting Tamaru. He attempts to grab her phone to block Tamaru, but Isaku stops him from doing so. Following this, he leaves the room. While chatting with Tamaru, he suggests that Isaku join him and his friends for an afternoon of karaoke. Isaku gives it some thought and decides to accept his invitation. The following day, Isaku sneaks out of her home and makes her way to the karaoke session. Eventually, all of Tamaru's friends appear to be smoking cigarettes, drinking, and making out. Tamaru attempts to kiss Isaku, but Isaku isn't interested. Keiya bursts in at this point and knocks Tamaru unconscious. He then takes Isaku with him. Isaku seems to be furious at Keiya as they're in the car together. He then tells her that he will never accept any man in her life. He explains that he doesn't want any man to steal her away from him. We see Keiya get a failing grade on a school test. He responds by saying that grades are not necessary for him to succeed in real life, when Isaku gets upset with him for his low marks. Following this, Isaku pushes him to study for the retest and offers to teach him. Isaku then starts tutoring Keiya in the school library. Not long after, some of her classmates then approach her and ask if they can tag along. A few of Keiya's classmates strike up conversations with him by asking if he's dating Isaku. He replies never, and Isaku's heart breaks. The next few days, Keiya is seen preparing for the exam. He eventually achieves academic success and requests a reward from Isaku. In response to her question, he continues by saying he wants to kiss her. This leaves Isaku blushing and confused, and she refuses to kiss him. Keiya then offers Isaku a day of spending time with him as a reward for his efforts. Isaku agrees to his request. Isaku can be seen getting ready for the day of the trip. Keiya, on the other hand, can be seen cooking for Isaku. Not long after that, Keiya and Isaku go to the zoo and have an amazing day together. When Keiya and Isaku are heading home, he brings up his request for the kiss. He then says he's sorry he asked her that. Isaku then tells him that a kiss between them is fine with her. She is seen approaching Keiya, however, she changes her mind. When Isaku runs away, Keiya is attacked by a mysterious man. However, Keiya shoots him and his bodyguards come to his help. Isaku returns at this point in time, worried for Keiya's safety. Soon after, Keiya walks in on Isaku waiting for him. She tells him to forget that she consented to him kissing her when he returns. Keiya now refrains from bringing it up out of respect for her. In preparation for a school excursion trip, students are told to form small groups. Following this, a group lets Keiya and Isaku join them. Isaku feels incredibly thrilled to be a part of a group. Murayama-kun makes an effort to befriend Isaku during the class trip. Keiya, however, flings a knife at him and ultimately discourages him from approaching Isaku. Even though Isaku disapproves of his actions, she chooses to overlook them. Isaku and her roommates are later seen together in a room. They all head to the locker room because one of her roommates left her phone in there. Isaku meets Keiya during this time. As a consequence, they wind up chatting with one another. When a group of kids comes in to change, Keiya and Isaku take cover in the same washroom. The following scene shows the students participating in beach games. Isaku learns that one of the classmates has forgotten her sunscreen and offers to lend hers instead. However, while Isaku is alone in the room, two men end up kidnapping her. Keiya searches the beach for Isaku but has no luck. When he checks her room, he too finds no sign of her. This leads him to discover that two men were aimlessly strolling around the spot. He ends up blaming himself for her abduction. We learn that the Kodengumi gang kidnapped Isaku. Keiya can be seen pursuing the vehicle that is taking her. After a fight and the car sliding into the water, Keiya soon finds her and manages to save her. Keiya and Isaku's teacher punishes them after they return. Following that, while the other kids are having fun enjoying fireworks and barbecue, they are asked to sit in a room together and write an apology. Isaku gets upset by this since she truly wanted to go experience an ordinary teenage life. Upon returning from their outing, Keiya gets caught trying to take his books with him. Then, Isaku finds out that Keiya was intending to have someone else complete his schoolwork. She then scolds him and asks him to study with her. Isaku makes a demand, which Keiya accepts, but he asks her to reward him at the end of it. Keiya is seen asking Isaku to wear her bathing suit. He has a little pool ready with barbecue when he leads her outside. He explains to Isaku that he arranged everything so Isaku could experience it, because they weren't able to enjoy it on the outing. Following that, Aisaku can be seen having fun in the pool while Keiya grills meat on the fire. Then Keiya joins her in the pool shortly after. Aisaku is on vacation from school. She is bored and lost at this point, as she has been accustomed to constantly being in the company of others, and especially Keiya. After this, Izaku leaves her room and approaches Luca and Konga, asking them whether she can be of help to them. Even so, they tell her that Keiya will slaughter them if they make her work. Shortly after, Keiya shows up and asks Izaku if she's bored. Following that, he extends an invitation to her to attend a festival held in the local community. Izaku ultimately decides to go along with him after giving the idea some serious consideration. Aisaku bumps into her classmates from school at the occasion, and they make disparaging comments about her because of the occupation held by her grandfather. After this, Keiya walks up behind her, takes her hand, and acts like he's her boyfriend. At some point during the fair, the two of them decide to walk together while holding hands. Shortly after that, Izaku expresses interest in participating in a competition in which the winner will receive a stuffed animal that resembles Keiya. Keiya is successful in winning the item for her when she is unable to do so on her own. The next day, Izaku spends the day hanging out with her good friends Ando and Katsuki. It appears that she is having a wonderful time with her friends, and they appear to be enjoying her presence just as much as she is. Aisaku is unable to sleep at night, so she takes it easy in the morning the following day. Soon after that, Keiya notices that the toy he won for her has been placed in her bed. Following that, he proceeds to hold her while she sleeps.